It's time for the Margin Matters Minute with Money Man Jason Brown.
All right, welcome back once again to the Margin Matters Minute. My name is Jason Brown. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's topic is credit card debt and how I got out of credit card debt. This is actually my first of a few debt-free stories. This is my very first debt-free story that I wanted to share with you guys. And it occurred in my mid-20s. And I will say, this story is chronicled in my book that I wrote called Margin Matters, How to Live on a Simple Budget and Crush Debt Forever. So you can actually check that out. I'll link it below if you want to check out the book. So this story is coming straight out of the book. So here we go. So mid-20s, first time out on my own, got my first full-time job, bought my first place. I bought a condo, living on my own, and learning how to do life. So what I didn't know was financial responsibility, how to manage money, how to budget. I didn't know any of that stuff. Now my parents, they did model fiscal responsibility. They were not frivolous. They were very wise with their money. My dad, taught me a few things here and there along the way, but certainly wasn't taught anything in school. So I had to learn a lot of this on my own. So here I am in my mid-20s, and I woke up one day and I realized that I was not doing life right. What I was doing was I was paying everything on a credit card. And this was the problem with this was I wasn't really making that much money. Credit card interest rates were accruing. I was trying to make the payments, but just wasn't able to keep up. So the next thing I knew, I was staring at $13,500 of credit card debt. And many of you might not think that's a lot of money. That's not really too alarming when you look at it. Just it's all a matter of perspective. But then when I tell you, at the time I was only making $23,800 a year at my full-time job, that was my annual salary. To have $13,500 credit card debt, that was a significant number that I was facing. So the problem was, like I said, I was just swiping the card for everything, every purchase, gas, groceries, clothes, entertainment, anything that I did, I just swiped the card, and I didn't really know better. So a lot of things happened in my life that helped me correct this situation that I was in. So I gave myself the goal of 1 year. I said I want to knock this debt out in 12 months. So I set a goal to achieve. So what I did, I started self-educating myself. I started really going to the bookstore, getting every book I could find on personal finance. And also during this time, I live in the Atlanta market, so there's a guy named Clark Howard. I think he's a national guy now. He's a consumer advocate. He's known as the King of Cheap. You guys can check his website out, clark.com. He has a lot of really good resources, and I have some friends that work for him too. But he has a very popular radio show. So I started listening to his radio show and checking out his books. He has a line of books. And then, of course, I found Dave Ramsey's radio show. So I started listening to Dave Ramsey and really taken to him, and went out and got his books. So I just started immersing myself in personal finance, just trying to teach myself different strategies, different ways of doing things. And also, another thing that happened during this time was my pastor at my church did some really good sermon series on money and what the Bible teaches about money. Now, I will say, if you're not a Bible, Christian or a believer in God or Jesus, you can still read the Bible and learn a lot of things out of it. The Bible is still a very, very good resource. There's a lot of stuff in the Bible about money. And actually, my book is based on the Bible verse, Proverbs 22:7, which states, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is the slave to the lender. So that verse really resonated with me, and I didn't want to be the borrower. I didn't want to be the slave to the lender for the rest of my life. I wanted to be out of debt so I could have more options and opportunities in my life moving forward. So here's some of the things that I did to dig myself out of this debt. So the first thing I did, the very first thing, was I decided the only way that I was going to get out of this debt was to stop using the credit cards altogether. Cold turkey. I took the credit cards out of my wallet and put them in the back of my sock drawer. So just get rid of them, remove the temptation, not going to use them anymore because I'll never be able to catch up and pay off those balances. So I started using cash more, using my debit card more, and that started to really show some results. I was able to pay more than the minimum balance and just start knocking out some of that debt in a little bit a better way. So the second thing I did was what I just mentioned, was the self-education with all the books and the radio shows and seeking out wise counsel, listening to sermons on money, reading books on different thought leaders, etc. TV shows, radio shows, and books, and anything I found on the internet, articles or blogs, etc. So I just kind of educated myself the best way that I could on how to manage money. Now, the third thing I did was budget. I learned for the first time how to create a budget, how to use a budget, how to track my expenses, how to track my my spending, all the money that was coming in, the income, and just really, I think I might have started with like an Excel spreadsheet, or maybe just hand paper and pencil, or paper and pen, just writing everything down, just basically like documenting, like creating a journal, like a spending journal. This is very popular with diet plans. If people want to lose weight, keep a journal of everything that you've eaten and anything that you've taken in, right? Keep track of all your calories. It's the same idea. Keep track of all your spending. So the second thing, this kind of goes together with the budget. The next thing, this is the fourth thing I believe on my list, was I started cutting expenses. So I started, once I had everything written down on the budget, I realized, okay, these are all my expenses. What can I start cutting? What don't I need in my life? What does not bring value? What did I view as maybe a waste of money? Things like that. So of course, the big one is the cable, the big cord cutting trend that's been going on. So that was I think that was one that I cut back on. I cut back on my phone bill. I was paying like an insane amount of money. I think it was like $120 a month for a single line cell phone bill. And at the time, I also had a landline, which I didn't even use at my house. The only phone calls I got on my landline were telemarketers or robocalls or spam calls. So I would come home every day and have a voicemail box full of junk, spam calls. So I got rid of the landline. I think I was like $50 a month. I was paying for that. It was just totally flushing money down the toilet. So there were a lot of other expenses that I cut out as well. Eating out is a big one that gets a lot of us. Groceries, cut back on some of the grocery expenses, stuff like that. So there's a lot of expenses that you can cut. So once I got to the point of cutting every expense that I could possibly cut, where I couldn't find anything else to cut, that's when I started looking at, how do I increase my income? Where can I make some more money? How can I bring in more money to pay down that debt quicker? So at the time, I had the condo, I had an extra bedroom, so I rented out my spare bedroom to a friend, charged him rent. I believe he was paying $650 a month at the time. So that was a huge source of revenue, extra money coming in. So just that one decision brought in like $7,800 a year. So that was a big one. And then just other, picked up some part-time jobs. I worked in the sports industry at the time, so I was working, for different teams and different games. So just picking up more work, working more games, making myself more available to work. on weekends and nights and stuff like that. Just, whatever I could do to make extra money, I did it. And then another thing that I got into at that time was online selling. eBay, Craigslist were real big at the time. I think, of course, they still are now. But that was, back when eBay was in its heyday. eBay was really taking off, and there was a big opportunity to sell anything on eBay and make money off of. So I really got into eBay, selling stuff, flipping stuff like that, selling stuff on Craigslist, or I remember having a lot of yard sales, just making money doing stuff like that. Just anything I could do to make extra money. So those are a lot of the things that I did to pay down that debt. Now, I will say at the end of the day, I did not reach my goal of paying off that credit card in 12 months. I missed it by 1 month. I ended up paying it off in 13 months. So I paid off $13,500 in 13 months, knocked it out. Basically, still don't use credit cards. I stopped using credit cards, and for that reason. And I kept the credit cards. I didn't cancel them, but I just kept them as an emergency, really. Just didn't keep them in my wallet. Just took them out of the wallet, put them away. Just kept them as an emergency if I ever needed it. So that's my story on how I got out of credit card debt. And put in the comments below if you have a story like that, a debt-free story you want to share, or any tips or thoughts on credit cards or credit card debt. I know I can tell you the credit card interest rates are much, much higher now than they were, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So it's even harder now to get out of that debt if you are in a situation that I was in back in my time of trying to dig out of that debt. So, like I said, thank you so much for watching. If you want to support me further, you can subscribe to my channel, or leave me a comment or a like, or check out my website for my blogs, more information, my book, yourmarginmatters.com. And just thank you so much for your support, and drop me a comment and tell me your story. How did you get out of debt, or maybe you're in debt and want to get out of debt and need some tips, and maybe we can all share ideas in the comments below. So until next time, thanks so much for watching. This is Jason Brown saying to remember, it's not the amount of money you make, but the margin that matters the most. See you next time.